I was drinking cold coffee in my kitchen when my phone started buzzing like a hornet trapped in a jar. Text after text, call after call. My neighbor Linda, my old college roommate Pete, my dentist's receptionist, people I hadn't heard from in years. The first message I actually read was from Linda. OMG, is this true? I didn't know what she was talking about. I opened the next one. Pete. Dude, your kid's on Channel 7 right now, you okay? That's when my stomach dropped. I grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. It took me 3 tries because my hands were shaking and I kept hitting the wrong buttons. When I finally got to Channel 7, there he was. My son, Derek. He was sitting in one of those morning show chairs, the kind that's supposed to look casual, but costs more than my first car. He wore a suit I'd never seen before, charcoal gray with a subtle pinstripe, and his hair was styled in that slicked-back way that made him look like every other corporate climber on the planet. The host, some blonde woman with teeth so white they could guide ships at night, leaned forward with that practiced look of fascination. So, Derek, tell us about this exciting new chapter for Kellerman Logistics. Kellerman Logistics, my company, the one I built from nothing 27 years ago with a single truck and a maxed-out credit card. Derek smiled. It was his public smile, the one he'd been practicing since high school debate team. Well, Jennifer, I'm thrilled to announce that I'm officially taking over the family legacy. My father stepped down several years ago, and it's time for a new generation to lead us into the future. I stood there with the remote still in my hand, frozen. Several years ago? I'd been at the office 3 days ago arguing with our new accountant about expense reports. Your father must be so proud, Jennifer said. Derek's smile got wider. He's been ready for retirement for a long time. He built something incredible, but the world has changed. Logistics isn't about trucks and warehouses anymore. It's about data, optimization, global supply chains. My vision is to transform Kellerman into a tech-forward operation that can compete on a national scale. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Raymond, my business partner of 15 years. Turn on Channel 7 now. Already watching, I typed back. We need to talk, today. On screen, Derek was talking about bringing fresh energy and modernizing legacy operations. Every third word out of his mouth was another way of saying his old man was obsolete. Jennifer asked him about his background, and Derek launched into a story about how he'd been groomed for leadership since childhood, how he'd spent summers working in the warehouse, learning the business from the ground up. That part was actually true. He had worked summers. Mostly he'd sat in the air-conditioned break room playing games on his phone while the actual workers sweated through their shirts moving freight. Then Jennifer said something that made my coffee threaten to come back up. We've heard some reports that the transition hasn't been entirely smooth. Can you address the concerns about your father's state of mind? Derek's expression shifted. He managed to look sympathetic and concerned at the same time. It was a hell of a performance. Look, Jennifer, I love my dad, but the truth is, the last few years have been difficult. He's struggled with the idea of letting go. There have been some incidents at the office, some erratic behavior. Nothing serious, but enough that the board felt it was time for a change. We want him to enjoy his retirement, to relax. He's earned it. Erratic behavior. Incidents. I turned off the TV. My hands were steady now. That initial shock had burned away and left something colder behind. I walked to my home office, which was really just the spare bedroom with a desk and some filing cabinets. I kept most of my important documents at the main office, but I'd been taking things home lately. Call it instinct. Call it paranoia. Whatever you want to call it, that instinct had been right. I opened the bottom drawer of the oldest filing cabinet, the one I'd bought used back in 1998. Under a stack of tax returns from the early 2000s, I found what I was looking for. The original partnership agreement. The one Derek and his wife Ashley had clearly never read. See, when I started Kellerman Logistics, I had a lawyer friend who owed me a favor. Big favor. I'd helped him move his entire house on a weekend when his wife left him and took the moving truck. So when I needed legal documents drawn up, he did it for free, but he did it right. He built in protections, clauses, safeguards. One of them was very specific. Transfer of primary ownership, in part or in full, requires explicit written and notarized consent of the original founder, Jacob Kellerman. This clause cannot be superseded by board vote, secondary shareholder agreement, or any subsequent organizational restructuring. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. My phone rang. Raymond. Jake, what the hell is going on? You watching the interview? I recorded it. Jake, he's telling the whole country you're retired. He's acting like he owns the company. Does the board know about this? Raymond was quiet for a moment. The board hasn't met in 6 weeks. Derek's been canceling meetings. Says he wants to wait until the transition is complete. What transition? I never signed anything. I know that. You know that. But Derek's been telling people you're stepping down. He got new business cards printed, new letterhead. His name is on everything now. I looked at the document in my hand. Ray, I need you to do something for me. Name it. Pull every contract, every agreement, every legal document we have on file. I want to know exactly what Derek thinks he's sitting on. You think he forged something? I think my son is betting I'm too old and too tired to fight back. I think he's counting on me rolling over. Raymond made a sound that might have been a laugh or a cough. He doesn't know you very well, does he? Apparently not. After I hung up with Raymond, I sat there staring at that old contract for a long time. My coffee had gone from cold to room temperature. Outside, I could hear kids playing in someone's yard, their voices high and careless. I thought about Derek as a kid, how he used to follow me around the warehouse, asking questions about every piece of equipment, how he'd wanted to learn to drive the forklift when he was 12, how proud he'd looked the first time I let him make a delivery run with me. When had that changed? I knew the answer. It had changed when he met Ashley. Ashley Ward, now Ashley Kellerman. She'd shown up in Derek's life during his senior year of college, and within 6 months, my son had transformed from a decent kid who wanted to learn the family business into someone I barely recognized. Ashley came from money. Her father ran some kind of investment firm in Chicago. She'd grown up in a world where logistics companies were things you invested in, not things you built with your own hands. She looked at Kellerman Logistics and saw wasted potential. She looked at me and saw an obstacle. My phone buzzed. Another text, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Kellerman, this is Brian Mills from the Channel 7 newsroom. We'd love to get your comment on your son's announcement. Can we set up an interview? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I opened up the camera on my phone and took a picture of the original partnership agreement, making sure the ownership clause was clearly visible. I attached it to an email addressed to bmills@channel7news.com. The subject line was simple, regarding Derek Kellerman's interview. In the body of the email I wrote, I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding about the ownership structure of Kellerman Logistics. The attached document may be of interest to your viewers. I'm available for comment at your convenience. I hit send before I could think better of it. Then I made another pot of coffee, because I had a feeling it was going to be a very long day. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Kellerman, this is Brian Mills. I just received your email. His voice was younger than I'd expected, eager. Did you read it? I asked. I'm reading it now. Mr. Kellerman, this document says you're still the sole primary owner of Kellerman Logistics. That's correct. Your son just told our viewers he's taking over the company. I heard. There was a pause. I could hear papers rustling on his end. Mr. Kellerman, would you be willing to come on air to discuss this? When? How about tomorrow morning? Same time slot as your son's interview? I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I'll be there. After I hung up, I forwarded the email to Raymond with a single line. Hope you're free tomorrow morning. His response came back in under a minute. Wouldn't miss it. The rest of the day was a blur of phone calls and messages. My phone didn't stop buzzing. Old employees wanted to know what was going on. Clients were confused. I didn't answer most of them. I spent the afternoon going through every document in my filing cabinet, making copies, scanning things into my computer. If Derek wanted a fight, I was going to be ready. Around 6 p.m., my ex-wife called. Diane. We'd been divorced for 8 years, but we'd managed to stay civil, mostly. Jake. Diane. I saw the interview. Everyone saw the interview. She was quiet for a moment. Did you know he was planning this? What do you think? I think Derek's been spending too much time listening to Ashley. That surprised me. Diane usually defended Derek no matter what. Mother's instinct or something. You noticed that too? I'm his mother, not blind. Ashley's been pushing him to take over for 2 years now. She thinks you're holding him back. Holding him back from what? Bankruptcy. Because that's where they're headed if they try to run this company like a tech startup. Diane sighed. He's not thinking clearly, Jake. He's ambitious, and he's impatient, and Ashley's in his ear telling him he deserves more. He does deserve more. When I'm ready to retire, and when he's actually ready to run the company. Not before. What are you going to do? I'm going on Channel 7 tomorrow morning. Same show. They're going to read the ownership clause on air. Another pause. That's going to humiliate him. He humiliated me first. He's your son. And he just told the entire state that I'm mentally unstable and need to retire. So yeah, Diane, I'm going to humiliate him right back. She didn't say anything for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, harder. I have some emails you might find interesting. What kind of emails? Ashley's been CCing me on some internal communications. I don't think she realizes I still have them. Another where Ashley discusses strategy for removing you from the organizational chart. My hand tightened on the phone. Send them to me. Jake, if you use these, send them to me, Diane. She hung up. 5 minutes later, my email chimed. There were 12 messages in total. I read through each one twice, my anger building with every line. Derek's email to Ashley. Dad's never going to step down on his own. We need to force the issue. Ashley's response. Leave it to me. I'll start planting seeds. By the time we're done, everyone will think he's losing it. Another one from Ashley to someone named Jennifer Holt. Jake Kellerman has become a liability to the company. His decision-making is questionable at best, dangerous at worst. The board should seriously consider whether he's fit to continue in any leadership capacity. Jennifer Holt, the same blonde woman who'd interviewed Derek that morning. So this had been planned, coordinated. They'd fed the narrative to the media before Derek ever sat down in that chair. I forwarded the entire thread to Raymond and Brian Mills, then I poured myself a drink. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. I didn't sleep much. Around 3 a.m. I gave up and went to the office. My office. The one I'd been using for almost 3 decades. The building was dark when I arrived. The parking lot empty, except for a delivery truck that had been there for a week with a blown transmission. I let myself in through the side door, using the key I'd carried since we'd moved into this location in 2003. The warehouse smelled the way it always did. Cardboard, diesel fuel, that distinctive scent of a place where work happens. I'd always loved that smell. It meant something real, something tangible. Not like the abstract numbers and projections Ashley was always talking about. My office was on the 2nd floor, overlooking the main floor. Glass walls so I could see everything happening below. I'd designed it that way on purpose. I wanted to be part of the operation, not isolated from it. I flipped on the lights and stopped. Everything was different. My desk was gone. The old oak one that had been my father's before it was mine. In its place was some modern glass and chrome monstrosity that looked like it belonged in a spaceship. The filing cabinets were gone. The bookshelf where I'd kept manuals and reference guides. Even the photos on the walls had been replaced. Where there used to be pictures of our early trucks, our first warehouse, the crew from our 10th anniversary party, now there were sleek professional photos of loading docks and shipping containers with dramatic lighting. It was like I'd never existed. I stood there for a long moment, just breathing. Then I took out my phone and started taking pictures. Every angle, every detail. Dad? I turned around. Derek was standing in the doorway. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and he looked like he hadn't slept either. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I work here. What's your excuse?" He stepped into the office. "We need to talk." "Apparently we do. What happened to my desk?" "I had it moved to storage. This space needed updating." Updating. I looked around at the sterile corporate nightmare he'd created. "You mean erasing?" "Dad, come on, you know the company needs to modernize. That old furniture was sending the wrong message to clients." "What message was that?" "That we've been in business for almost 3 decades, and we know what we're doing." Derek ran his hand through his hair. He did that when he was frustrated. Always had, even as a kid. "Look, I saw the email you sent to Channel 7. That's not cool, Dad. You're making this harder than it needs to be." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one who went on television and announced you were taking over my company without bothering to mention you don't actually have the authority to do that. The board supports the transition." "What board? The one that hasn't met in 6 weeks because you keep canceling meetings?" His jaw tightened. "We've been busy. There's been a lot to organize." "Derek." I kept my voice level. "I never signed anything. I never agreed to step down. You don't own this company." "Not yet. But Dad, be realistic. You're 53 years old. How much longer did you want to keep doing this? Another 10 years? 20? You've earned your retirement. When I decide to retire, I'll let you know. Until then, this is still my company. Ashley says..." "I don't give a damn what Ashley says." The words came out harder than I'd intended. Derek's expression shifted, went cold. "Ashley is my wife. She's trying to help." "Help with what? Help erase me from the company I built? Help spread rumors that I'm mentally unstable?" "Nobody said that." "You did. This morning on television. You told Jennifer what's her face that I'd had incidents." Derek looked away. "I was just trying to explain why the transition was necessary." "By lying about me?" "I wasn't lying." "Then what incidents were you talking about?" He didn't answer. "That's what I thought." I moved toward the door. "I've got an interview tomorrow morning. Channel 7. Same show you were on. They're going to read the ownership clause from our original partnership agreement. On air. So everyone who heard your little announcement yesterday will know exactly who owns this company." Derek stepped in front of me. "Don't do this. Move." "Dad, please, if you do this, you'll make us both look like idiots." "You should have thought about that before you went on TV." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and realized I didn't know him anymore. Somewhere in the last few years, he'd stopped being Derek Kellerman and started being whoever Ashley wanted him to be. "You know what? That's between you and your wife. Now move." He didn't. For a second, I thought he might actually try to physically stop me. We were about the same height, but I had 40 pounds on him and 30 years of loading trucks. Then he stepped aside. I was halfway down the stairs when his voice echoed after me. "If you go through with this interview, don't bother coming back here." I didn't turn around. We'll see who has the authority to say that. I drove home as the sun was coming up, painting the sky those shades of orange and purple that usually made me feel optimistic about the day ahead. Not today. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since I'd left the office. I ignored it until I was back in my driveway. Then I checked the messages. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. Media requests, probably. But one was from Raymond. Jake, I went through all the contracts like you asked. There's something you need to see. Call me. I called him. What did you find? Derek's been busy, really busy. He's created a new company structure, got it approved by 3 board members we barely use anymore. The ones who don't actually work here, who just invested money years ago for tax purposes. How many board members do we have? 7 total. But 3 of them are just names on paper. They haven't been to a meeting in years. And Derek got those 3 to sign off on a restructuring? Looks like it. The new structure creates a position called Chief Executive Officer, separate from ownership. That's Derek's title now. CEO of what? He doesn't have operational authority unless I grant it. Right. But here's the thing, Jake. On paper, it looks legit. If someone just glances at the organizational chart, it looks like Derek's running the company. But he's not. No. But he's convinced a lot of people he is, including our bank. I got a call from them yesterday asking about the ownership transition. Someone told them you were retiring. I leaned back against my car. Ashley. Almost certainly. She's been doing PR work for us, right? Or that's what she calls it. Looks like she's been managing our public image right into the ground. What about clients? Do they know about this? Some do. The big ones are confused but willing to wait and see. The smaller clients, though, we've lost 3 accounts in the last week. They're saying they want to work with established leadership. Meaning not Derek. Meaning not a 28-year-old who they've never met and who goes on TV making announcements without consulting anyone. I rubbed my eyes. This is a bigger mess than I thought. Jake, there's something else. Ashley's been altering internal documents. Nothing illegal, just strategic editing. She removed your name from client-facing materials. Changed the About Us section on our website to make it sound like Derek founded the company with your help, not the other way around. She can't just rewrite history. She's doing it anyway, and unless we stop her in 6 months, everyone's going to believe her version. Forward me everything you found. I want documentation. Already did. Check your email. After I hung up with Raymond, I sat in my car going through the documents he'd sent. Page after page of slow, systematic erasure. It was like watching someone Photoshop you out of your own life. The website was the worst. I pulled it up on my phone. The old version, the one I'd seen 2 months ago, had a whole section about how I'd started the company in 1998 with a single truck and a dream. How I'd built it from nothing, navigating the 2008 recession, adapting to industry changes, creating jobs for hundreds of people over the years. The new version said, founded by the Kellerman family, Kellerman Logistics has been a leader in supply chain solutions for over 2 decades. Under new leadership, we're poised for exponential growth. The Kellerman family. Like we were some dynasty that had always existed, not a company I'd built by working 18-hour days for years, and under new leadership. That was Ashley's touch. Professional, polished, completely dishonest. I went inside and made breakfast, but I couldn't eat it. The eggs sat there getting cold while I read through more documents. There was an email chain between Ashley and someone at a PR firm discussing narrative control. Another between Derek and a business consultant about managing legacy ownership issues. The consultant's advice, move quickly, make it look like a done deal. Most people won't check the paperwork. They'd been planning this for at least 8 months, maybe longer, and I'd been completely oblivious. No, that wasn't quite true. I'd noticed things. Derek asking more questions about the company structure, Ashley suddenly being interested in our client relationships, small changes happening around the office that I'd dismissed as Derek trying to put his stamp on things. I'd thought he was growing into the role, learning, preparing for an eventual transition. Instead, he'd been planning a coup. Around noon, Diane called again. I heard you 2 ran into each other at the office. News travels fast. Derek called me. He's upset. Good. Jake, did he tell you what he did to my office? He gutted it. Got rid of everything. It's like I never worked there. Diane was quiet for a moment. That was Ashley's idea. She said it would help Derek establish his authority. By erasing me? By creating separation. Her words, not mine. You know what? I don't care whose idea it was. Derek's a grown man. He made his choice. He's scared, Jake. Ashley's been pushing him hard. She's got all these ideas about expansion and investment and making Kellerman Logistics into some kind of regional powerhouse. She's in his head constantly. Then he needs to tell her to back off. You think he can? You've met Ashley. When she wants something, she doesn't stop until she gets it. I thought about that. Ashley. I'd only met her a handful of times before Derek married her. She was smart, I'd give her that. Sharp. Articulate. She had an MBA from some prestigious school and talked about business like it was a chess game. But she'd never understood what Kellerman Logistics actually was. To her, it was just a company, just numbers on a spreadsheet. She didn't understand the relationships, the reputation we'd built, the trust our clients had in us. She saw an opportunity to make money, and she didn't care who she had to steamroll to get it. Diane, you said you have more emails. I do. Send them all. Even the ones about you? Especially those. She hesitated. Some of them are pretty harsh, Jake. I don't care. Send them. The emails arrived an hour later. There were 23 in total. Diane was right. They were harsh. Ashley to Derek. Your father is the anchor dragging this company down. Every conversation with a client, I have to spend half my time reassuring them that we're not some backwater operation run by a dinosaur. We need him gone. Derek to Ashley. I know, but he's my dad. I can't just kick him out. Ashley. You're not kicking him out, you're helping him retire. There's a difference. He's had a good run, but it's over. The sooner he accepts that, the better for everyone. Another one, from Ashley to someone whose email address I didn't recognize. Jake Kellerman is resistant to change and stuck in the past. He's making decisions based on outdated industry models. The company can't grow with him in charge. And Derek's response to a message from Ashley. You're right. I just wish there was an easier way. Ashley. There isn't. You want to run this company? Then you need to take it. He's not going to hand it over voluntarily. I read through all of them twice. Then I forwarded the entire batch to Brian Mills at Channel 7. Subject line, additional context for tomorrow's interview. My phone rang almost immediately. Mr. Kellerman, this is Brian Mills. I just got your email. Good. Read it carefully. Sir, these emails, can we verify their authenticity? My ex-wife will verify them. She was CC'd on all of them. This is... Mr. Kellerman, do you understand what you're handing us here? I'm handing you the truth. What you do with it is your business. There was a long pause. I could hear him typing. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. Tomorrow morning, we do a split interview. You in the studio, Derek on remote feed. We read the ownership clause. Then we ask both of you to respond to these emails. Derek's not going to agree to that. He doesn't have a choice. We've already scheduled the segment. If he doesn't show up, it's going to look worse. Fine. What time? Be here at 7 a.m. We go live at 8. After I hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. This was really happening. Tomorrow morning, I was going to go on television and blow up my son's entire plan. Part of me felt sick about it. He was still my kid. I'd changed his diapers, taught him to ride a bike, sat through countless soccer games and school plays. But another part of me, the part that had built Kellerman Logistics from nothing, the part that had sacrificed weekends and holidays and time with my family to make this company work, that part was absolutely done being pushed around. Derek wanted the company, he could earn it, the right way, not by lying and scheming and trying to erase me. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Mr. Kellerman, this is Tom Brennan. I'm the foreman at Warehouse 3. We heard what's going on. The crew wants you to know we've got your back. I smiled. Then I called Raymond. How many of our people know about this? All of them. Jake, the rank and file, they're pissed. Derek's been making changes, hiring new people for management positions, bringing in outside consultants. The guys who've been with you for years, they feel like they're being pushed out. Has Derek fired anyone? Not yet, but he's made it clear he wants to optimize staffing levels. That's code for layoffs. That's what I told Tom Brennan. He's ready to walk if Derek tries to clean house. Tell Tom and the crew to sit tight. This'll be over soon. I hoped that was true. The rest of the day was a blur. More phone calls, more messages, more people wanting to know what was happening. I ignored most of them and focused on preparing for the interview. I pulled together every document I might need. The original partnership agreement, the emails from Ashley and Derek, the altered website screenshots, the company financial statements showing that I was still signing the checks. By evening, I had a 3-inch thick folder of evidence. Around 8 p.m., Ashley called me. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. Jacob. She never called me Jake. Always Jacob, formal and distant. Ashley. I heard you're planning to go on television tomorrow. News travels fast. This is incredibly petty. You're embarrassing Derek and damaging the company. I'm embarrassing him? That's rich. He was trying to do this gracefully, to give you a dignified exit, but you're making it impossible. A dignified exit? He went on TV and told everyone I'm mentally unstable. He said no such thing. He implied it. He talked about incidents and erratic behavior. He made it sound like I'm losing my mind. Ashley's voice went cold. If you were thinking clearly, you'd see that Derek is trying to help you. The business world is changing, Jacob. You can't keep up anymore. You're making mistakes, missing opportunities. The board has concerns. What board? The 3 people you bribed into signing off on Derek's fake CEO title? Silence. Yeah, I know about that. I know about all of it. Those emails were private. And now they're not. Tomorrow morning, Channel 7 is going to read them on air, along with the ownership clause you apparently forgot existed. Jacob, if you do this... What? You'll ruin my reputation? Spread more lies about me? You've already done that. I've got nothing left to lose. You have your relationship with your son to lose. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. I was quiet for a moment. Derek made his choice when he decided to believe your lies instead of talking to me directly. That's on him, not me. He's trying to build a future. Can't you see that? He wants to make you proud. By stealing my company? By taking what's rightfully his. You were going to leave it to him eventually anyway. He's just accelerating the timeline. That's not how this works, Ashley. You don't get to decide when I'm done. I do. You're being selfish. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I'm being selfish? I'm the one who built this company. I'm the one who risked everything. And now my son and his wife are trying to steal it out from under me, and I'm selfish for not letting them? Derek is your legacy. Derek is a 28-year-old who's never run anything in his life. You think he's ready to manage a multi-million-dollar logistics operation? He can barely manage his own credit card debt. Another silence. When Ashley spoke again, her voice was different. Harder. Tomorrow morning, you're going to regret this. We'll see. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, wondering if I'd just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Then I thought about Derek's face on TV, smiling while he erased me from my own story. I put my phone down and went to bed. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. The next few days were a whirlwind. The interview had gone viral, spawning think pieces about family businesses, generational conflict, and corporate ethics. Someone made a meme out of Derek's face when Jennifer read the ownership clause. It showed up everywhere. I tried to ignore it and focus on work, but it was impossible. Every meeting, every phone call, someone wanted to talk about the interview. On Thursday morning, I got a call from a law firm I didn't recognize. Mr. Kellerman? This is Patricia Hammond from Hammond & Associates. I represent Ashley Kellerman. My stomach tightened. What does Ashley want? My client believes there are grounds for a wrongful termination suit. Derek Kellerman was constructively dismissed during the television interview. I almost laughed. Derek quit. On live television, millions of people watched him do it. Our position is that he was placed under duress and felt he had no other option. Your position is garbage. Derek quit because he got caught trying to steal my company. If you want to file a suit, go ahead. I'll see you in court. Mr. Kellerman. I hung up. Raymond poked his head into my office 5 minutes later. Legal trouble? Ashley's lawyer, threatening a wrongful termination suit. Can she do that? She can try, won't go anywhere. Derek quit voluntarily. We've got video evidence. Raymond sat down across from me. The old oak desk had been returned to my office, and it felt good to have something familiar in the space. Jake, we need to talk about the Texas situation. What Texas situation? The failed expansion, the one Derek mentioned during the interview. It's worse than we thought. I closed my eyes. How much worse? 3.2 million in losses, not 2 million like you said. How did it get that high? Derek signed off on additional investments without authorization. Lease agreements, equipment purchases, hiring commitments. He was trying to make it work, but he just dug the hole deeper. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. Some of those commitments are still active. We're on the hook for another 6 months of lease payments on a warehouse we're not using. I did the math in my head. That was at least another $100,000 down the drain. Can we sublet the space? Already looking into it, but the market down there is soft. Might take a while. What about the equipment? Some of it we can repurpose here. The rest we'll have to sell at a loss. I rubbed my temples. Derek really screwed this up. He was trying to prove himself. By bankrupting us? Raymond shrugged. Ashley convinced him it would work. She had all these projections showing massive growth potential. Projections aren't reality. No kidding. My phone buzzed. Text message from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Kellerman, this is Jennifer Holt from Channel 7. We'd love to do a follow-up interview. Can we schedule something? I showed the message to Raymond. Media's still circling. Are you going to do it? No. I said what I needed to say. But the media attention didn't stop. Over the next few days, I got requests from local newspapers, business magazines, even a podcast that specialized in family business conflicts. I ignored all of them. On Friday afternoon, I got a surprise visitor, Ashley. She walked into my office without knocking, dressed in a sharp business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. We need to talk. No, we don't. Jacob, you've humiliated Derek. You've damaged his reputation. You've made it impossible for him to work in this industry. I defended my company from someone who was trying to steal it. If Derek's reputation is damaged, that's on him. Ashley's eyes were cold. You're a petty, vindictive old man. And you're a manipulative social climber who saw my company as a stepping stone. I'd say, we're even. She moved closer to my desk. You think you've won? This isn't over. Derek may have backed down, but I haven't. I'm going to make sure everyone in this industry knows what kind of person you are. Everyone already knows what kind of person I am. I'm the guy who built this company from scratch and didn't let his son steal it. You're the guy who chose his pride over his family. I chose the truth over lies. Big difference. Ashley's jaw tightened. Derek worshipped you. Did you know that? Growing up, all he wanted was to be like his father, to run this company, to make you proud. He had a funny way of showing it. He was trying to step up, to prove he could lead, and you crushed him. He was trying to steal from me. There's a difference between proving yourself and committing fraud. It wasn't fraud. Lying about ownership, altering company documents, spreading rumors that I'm mentally unstable. What would you call it? Ashley didn't answer. She just stared at me with those cold, calculating eyes. Get out of my office, I said. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. You lost. Derek lost. And now you both need to figure out what comes next, because it's not going to involve my company. Ashley turned and walked out without another word. I sat there for a long moment after she left, my heart pounding. Then I called Raymond. Ashley just paid me a visit. What did she want? To threaten me. Tell me this isn't over. Is it over? I thought about that. I don't know, but I'm tired of playing defense. It's time to go on offense. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to do a full audit. Every decision Derek made, every contract he signed, every commitment he authorized. If he screwed up more than just Texas, I want to know about it. That's going to take time. I've got time. Raymond was quiet for a moment. Jake, if we dig deep enough, we might not like what we find. I don't care. I need to know the full extent of the damage. All right, I'll start Monday. After Raymond left, I sat in my office and looked at the photos on the wall. The old ones I'd had put back up, pictures of the early days, back when it was just me and a handful of employees trying to make something work. We'd come a long way since then, built something real, something that mattered, and I'd be damned if I let anyone destroy it. Over the weekend, I tried to relax, tried to pretend things were normal, but my phone kept buzzing with messages from people who'd seen the interview, and every time I turned on the TV, there was some talking head discussing the Kellerman family drama. On Sunday afternoon, Diane called. Have you talked to Derek? No. Jake, he's not doing well. He's barely left the house since the interview. That's his choice. He's your son. He made a mistake, a big one, but he's still your son. What do you want me to do, Diane? Call him up and tell him it's all okay? It's not okay. He tried to take my company. I know. And he was wrong. But you've made your point. The whole world knows he was wrong. How much more do you need? I thought about that. How much more did I need? I'd exposed Derek's lies, protected my company, maintained control. What else was there? But every time I thought about forgiving him, I remembered that smug smile on TV as he announced he was taking over. The casual way he'd implied I was losing my mind. The systematic erasure of my contributions to the company I'd built. I need him to understand that actions have consequences, I said finally. I need him to own what he did. He does understand. He's living it every day. Then he knows how I felt when he tried to erase me. Diane sighed. You're both stubborn. You know that? Just like your father. My father knew how to run a business without lying to people. Your father also knew how to forgive. Remember that. She hung up before I could respond. I spent the rest of Sunday thinking about forgiveness, about whether I even wanted to forgive Derek, about what that would look like. By Monday morning, I still didn't have an answer. The office was busy when I arrived, more activity than usual. I found Raymond in his office, surrounded by printouts and file folders. Started the audit? He looked up, and his expression told me everything I needed to know. It's bad, Jake. How bad? Texas was just the beginning. Derek authorized 3 other expansion attempts. None of them panned out. Total losses are close to $7 million. The room tilted slightly. I grabbed the edge of his desk. 7 million? Give or take. He was chasing growth so aggressively that he didn't do proper due diligence on anything, signed contracts without legal review, made commitments based on Ashley's projections instead of actual market data. How are we still solvent? Barely. Our cash reserves are depleted. We've got maybe 3 months of operating capital left. I sat down heavily. 3 months. If we don't turn things around fast, we're going to have to start laying people off. Or worse. Can we get a line of credit? I already tried. Banks are spooked by the negative publicity. They see a family business in chaos, and they don't want to take the risk. I stared at the wall, trying to process this. Derek hadn't just tried to steal my company. He'd nearly bankrupted it. Does he know? I asked. Does Derek know how bad things are? I don't think so. He was focused on the growth numbers, not the balance sheet. Ashley kept telling him everything was fine. Ashley. I said her name like a curse. She did this. She pushed him into all these risky moves. Pushed him, yeah. But Derek signed the contracts. He made the decisions. He's responsible. Raymond was right. Derek was a grown man. He'd made his choices. But still, $7 million. What are our options? I asked. We need to cut costs, drastically. Close the Texas operation immediately, even if it means paying penalties. Liquidate unnecessary assets. Reduce overhead. Layoffs? Probably. I'm sorry, Jake. I thought about Tom Brennan and his crew, people who'd been with me for years, people who'd clapped when I walked in after the interview because they thought I'd saved their jobs. How many? 15, maybe 20 people. We can do it through attrition and voluntary early retirement, but it's going to hurt. Do it, but talk to me before you let anyone go. I want to make sure we're cutting the right positions. Raymond nodded. There's something else. Of course there is. The audit turned up some irregularities in Ashley's consulting fees. She's been billing us for PR work at rates that are way above market. How much? Over the last 2 years, about $400,000. I closed my eyes. She's been stealing from us. Overcharging technically, but yeah, it's pretty egregious. Can we get it back? We can try, but it'll mean another lawsuit, more public drama. I don't care. If she stole from this company, I want it back. Raymond made a note. I'll have legal look into it. I left Raymond's office and walked out onto the warehouse floor. The morning shift was in full swing. Forklifts moving pallets, workers loading trucks, the constant motion that I'd always found comforting. But now all I could think about was how many of these people I was going to have to let go. Tom Brennan saw me and walked over. Morning, boss. Morning, Tom. Everything okay? You look stressed. I wanted to tell him the truth, that his job might not be safe after all, that Derek had nearly bankrupted us, and now we were scrambling to survive. But I couldn't, not yet. Just dealing with some fallout from the interview. Well, if you need anything, we've got your back. I watched him walk away and felt like the world's biggest fraud. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Mr. Kellerman, this is Marcus Webb. I'm a business reporter with the Wall Street Journal. I've been following the story about your company and your son. I'd like to talk to you about the broader implications for family-owned businesses. I'm not interested in an interview. Mr. Kellerman, I've been digging into Kellerman Logistics' financial situation. I have sources telling me the company is in significant financial trouble. Is that true? No comment. My sources say your son made several expensive expansion attempts that failed. Sources say you're looking at potential layoffs. Is that accurate? Who's your source? I can't reveal that, but Mr. Kellerman, this story is going to come out. It would be better if you gave your side of it. My side is that my company is fine. We're going through a transition period, but we're stable. So you deny the financial problems? I deny that they're anyone's business but ours. I hung up. Then I called Raymond back. We've got a problem. The Wall Street Journal is sniffing around our finances. How do they know about that? Good question. Who have you talked to about the audit? Just you and the accounting team, nobody else. Then someone's leaking, either from accounting or someone who has access to our financial records. You think Derek's behind this? Or Ashley? She's vindictive enough. Raymond swore. If the Journal publishes a story about our financial problems, we're done. Clients will flee. Creditors will call in debts. Then we need to get ahead of it. Call that reporter back. Give him a statement. Controlled release of information. What do we say? The truth. We've been dealing with some challenges related to expansion attempts that didn't pan out. We're taking corrective action. The company remains solvent and committed to serving our clients. That's spin. That's survival. I spent the rest of the day preparing for the worst. If the Journal story ran and it was bad, we needed a plan. I called our major clients and reassured them. I called our bank and tried to negotiate better terms on our existing loans. I even called a few competitors to feel out potential partnerships or buyout offers just in case. Nobody wanted to buy. Everyone could smell the desperation. On Tuesday morning, the Wall Street Journal article came out. "Family Feud Leaves Logistics Company in Financial Turmoil," read the headline. The article was brutal. It detailed Derek's failed expansion attempts, the mounting debt, the depleted cash reserves. It quoted anonymous sources saying the company was weeks away from bankruptcy. That was an exaggeration, but not by much. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. and didn't stop. Clients wanting reassurances. Employees wanting to know if their jobs were safe. Media wanting comments. I ignored most of them and called an emergency meeting of the core management team. Raymond, Tom Brennan, Sandra Chen from accounting, and Mike Foster from operations. 5 of us sitting around a conference table that suddenly felt too big. "Everyone's seen the article," I said, "so let's not pretend things are fine. They're not fine. We're in trouble. The question is what we do about it." Sandra spoke first. "We need to be honest with people. Employees are panicking. Clients are nervous. If we don't address this head-on, we're going to lose them." "What do you suggest?" "A company-wide meeting. Today. You stand up in front of everyone and tell them the truth. We're facing challenges, but we have a plan. Be specific about the plan." "Do we have a plan?" Mike asked. I looked at Raymond. He nodded. "We do. We're closing the Texas operation immediately. We're liquidating non-essential assets. We're cutting overhead. And yes, there will be some layoffs, but we're going to minimize them as much as possible." The room went quiet. "How many layoffs?" Tom asked. 15 to 20 positions. We're still working out the details." Tom's face hardened. "You told me everyone's jobs were safe." "I thought they were, but the situation is worse than I realized. Because of Derek. Because of a lot of things. But yeah, Derek's decisions put us here. Then he should be the one getting laid off, not the people who've been loyal to you for years." "Derek's already gone. But his wife is still billing you for consulting fees she doesn't deserve. I've seen the numbers, Jake. Everyone has. While we're talking about cutting people's livelihoods, Ashley's walking away with 400 grand. He was right. It was galling. But there wasn't much I could do about it right now. "We're pursuing legal action to recover those fees," I said. "But that's going to take time. Right now, we need to focus on keeping this company alive." The meeting ended without much resolution. Everyone was angry, scared, uncertain. Welcome to leadership during a crisis. I scheduled the company-wide meeting for 2 p.m., gave me time to figure out what I was going to say. At 1:30, my phone rang. "Diane." "The journal article is everywhere." "I know. Derek's seen it. He's devastated." "Good. Maybe now he understands what he did." "Jake, he wants to help. He's offering to come back, to work without pay, to help fix this." I laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. "Derek's help is what got us into this mess. He made mistakes. He knows that. But he's willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." "It's too late for that." "Is it? Or are you just too proud to accept help from your son?" I didn't have an answer for that. At 2 p.m., I stood in front of the entire company. Every employee we had packed into the warehouse. Some sitting on pallets, others standing. All of them looking at me expectantly. I'd given speeches before. Motivational talks about company goals, safety reminders, anniversary celebrations. This was different. This was me admitting I'd failed to protect them. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this," I started. "We're in trouble. You've all seen the Wall Street Journal article. Most of what they reported is true. We made some bad expansion decisions. We lost money, a lot of money, and now we're facing the consequences." I could see fear in their faces. "Here's what we're doing about it. We're cutting costs, closing failed operations, selling assets we don't need. And yes, there will be some layoffs. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I can't." Someone in the back shouted, "Is this because of Derek?" "It's because of a lot of factors. But Derek made decisions that contributed to our current situation. That's true." "Is he coming back?" someone else asked. "No. Derek is no longer part of this company." "What about Ashley? Is she getting her money back?" I thought about lying, about saying we were handling it. But Sandra was right. These people deserved the truth. "Ashley overcharged us for consulting services. We're pursuing legal action to recover those fees. But that's going to take time, and it's not going to solve our immediate problems." "So we're paying for their mistakes," Tom Brennan said loudly. "The people who actually work here are losing their jobs so Derek and Ashley can walk away rich." The crowd murmured agreement. "It's not fair," I said. "You're right. But business isn't always fair. What matters now is how we respond. We can either fall apart, or we can come together and fight our way out of this. I know what I'm choosing. The question is what you choose." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Tom stood up. "I've been here 15 years. Worked my way up from loading dock to foreman. Jake gave me that opportunity. Whatever he needs, I'm in." Others started standing. One by one, people committing to stay, to fight. Not everyone. Some faces remained skeptical, but enough that I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could survive this after all. The meeting ended. People went back to work. But the energy had changed. There was a determination now, a sense of purpose. I went back to my office and found Raymond waiting. "That was good," he said. "People needed to hear from you. They needed to hear the truth." "Did you mean what you said, about fighting our way out?" "Yeah, I did." "Good, because I've been thinking. We need a major win, something to show clients and banks that we're still viable." "What did you have in mind?" "There's a large contract up for bid. Regional distribution for a major retailer. It's worth about $10 million annually." "Who's bidding?" "Everyone. But Jake, we've got an edge. We've been working with this retailer for years on smaller contracts. We know their systems. We know their needs. Can we afford to bid? Contracts like that require capital investments up front. It's a risk. But if we win, it solves our cash flow problems immediately." I thought about it. A $10 million contract, that would change everything. "Put together a proposal. Make it good. This might be our last shot." Raymond nodded and left. I sat at my desk and stared at the photos on the wall. The early days, the struggles, the victories. We'd survived worse than this. We could survive this too. But a small voice in the back of my mind kept asking, at what cost? The week after the Wall Street Journal article was hell. 3 more clients pulled their contracts, citing concerns about operational stability. 2 suppliers demanded payment up front instead of our usual net 30 terms, and the bank called daily asking about our recovery strategy. I spent most of my time on damage control, reassuring people, making promises I wasn't sure I could keep, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. The layoffs happened on Friday. 15 people. I personally met with each one, explained the situation, apologized. Some understood, others didn't. One guy, Phil Morrison, who'd been with us for 12 years, called me a liar to my face. "You said we were stable," he said. "You said our jobs were safe." "I thought they were." "No, you hoped they were. There's a difference." He was right. After the last meeting, I sat in my office with the door closed and just breathed. 15 families I'd just disrupted. 15 people who'd trusted me and got screwed because of my son's ambition and my own blind spots. Raymond knocked around 5 p.m. "You should go home." "Still have work to do." "It'll be there tomorrow. Go home, Jake. You look like hell." I went home, poured myself a drink, stared at the TV without really watching it. My phone buzzed. Text from Diane. "Derek knows about the layoffs. He's asking if there's anything he can do." I almost threw the phone across the room. Instead, I typed back, "He's done enough." She replied immediately, He's trying to make amends. Then he can start by paying back the $7 million he cost us. No response after that. Over the weekend, I worked on the proposal for the big retail contract. Raymond and I had been collaborating on it all week, but I wasn't satisfied. It needed to be perfect. We needed this win. On Monday morning, we submitted the proposal. Then we waited. The wait was excruciating. Every day with no response felt like a rejection. Meanwhile, the company limped along. We were operating lean, cutting every unnecessary expense. The warehouse had a skeleton crew. Overtime was forbidden. We'd canceled the annual company picnic and the Christmas bonuses. Morale was in the toilet. On Thursday, Raymond burst into my office without knocking. "We got it," I looked up. "Got what?" "The contract. The retail contract. We won the bid." I stood up slowly. "You're sure?" "Just got off the phone with their procurement director. We start in 30 days. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. "How much upfront investment?" $2 million. Equipment, vehicles, personnel. But Jake, the annual revenue is guaranteed. $10 million, minimum. More if we exceed performance targets. $2 million. We didn't have $2 million. Not anymore. Can we finance it? I already called the bank. They're willing to extend a line of credit based on the contract value. We'll be tight for a few months, but we can make it work. I sat back down. Okay, do it. Whatever we need to make this work, do it. Raymond grinned. It was the first genuine smile I'd seen from him in weeks. We're back in business. We're back in survival mode. There's a difference. But he was right. This changed things. We had a path forward now. Still precarious, still risky, but possible. That evening, I called a meeting with the core management team to share the news. The relief in the room was palpable. "This doesn't fix everything," I warned them. "We're still in debt. We still have a damaged reputation, but it gives us a chance." "It gives us more than that," Tom said. "It gives us proof that we're still standing, that Derek and Ashley didn't break us." I hadn't thought about it that way, but Tom was right. This contract was more than money. It was validation, proof that Kellerman Logistics could still compete, could still win. We spent the next 2 weeks preparing for the contract launch, hiring back some of the people we'd laid off, purchasing equipment, setting up new systems. It was exhausting and exhilarating at the same time. Then, on a Tuesday morning, I got a call from a lawyer I didn't recognize. "Mr. Kellerman, this is Robert Harrison. I represent Derek Kellerman." My stomach sank. What does Derek want? "Mr. Kellerman has filed a wrongful termination suit against Kellerman Logistics. He's seeking damages for lost wages, reputational harm, and emotional distress." I almost laughed. Derek quit. On live television. Our position is that he was constructively dismissed. The hostile work environment created by your actions on television left him no choice but to resign. Your position is insane. Regardless, the suit has been filed. You'll be served papers shortly. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. Derek was suing me. After everything he'd done, after nearly bankrupting the company, he was suing me. I called our lawyer, Ann Foster. She'd been with us for years, handling contracts and minor disputes. "Ann, I need help with a lawsuit." "What kind of lawsuit?" I explained the situation. She listened quietly, then sighed. "This is a nuisance suit. It's not going to go anywhere, but it'll cost you time and money to defend against." "Can we countersue?" "For what?" "The financial damage Derek caused, the losses from his failed expansions." "Maybe. But Jake, do you really want to drag this out? The publicity alone will be devastating." She was right. Another court battle, more media coverage, more family drama playing out in public. It would destroy what little goodwill we'd rebuilt. "What are my options?" "Settle. Offer him something to make it go away. Nothing major, just enough that he can claim a victory and move on." "I'm not giving him a victory." Then prepare for a long, expensive fight that will harm your company more than it harms him. I hated that she was right. Over the next few days, I talked to Raymond, to Diane, even to Tom Brennan. Everyone had the same advice. Settle. Make it go away. But I couldn't. Every time I thought about offering Derek money to drop the suit, I remembered him on television, smiling while he erased me from my own story. On Friday, I got another surprise. Ashley showed up at the warehouse again. We need to talk. No, we don't. Jacob, this lawsuit is ridiculous. Derek doesn't really want to sue you. He's hurt and angry, and his lawyer convinced him it was a good idea, but it's not good for anyone. Then tell him to drop it. He will, if you make some concessions. What kind of concessions? Ashley sat down across from me. She looked tired. The polished corporate image was cracking. Derek wants his job back, not as CEO, just as a regular employee. He wants a chance to make things right. No. Jacob, he nearly destroyed this company. He made reckless decisions that cost us millions. He tried to steal ownership, and now he's suing me. Why would I hire him back? Because he's your son. Because he made mistakes, but he's learned from them. Because everyone deserves a second chance. I studied her face. She looked sincere, but Ashley always looked sincere. That was her gift. What's in this for you? I asked. I want my husband to stop being miserable. I want our lives to move forward. This lawsuit, this feud, it's destroying him. He'll survive. Will he? Jake, I don't think you understand how hard this has been on Derek. He worshipped you. His entire identity was built around following in your footsteps. And now that's gone. He's lost his job, his reputation, his relationship with his father. He's falling apart. That's not my problem. Ashley's expression hardened. Fine. Then enjoy your lawsuit. Enjoy watching your company's reputation get dragged through the mud again. Enjoy explaining to your big new retail client why you're being sued by your own son. She stood up and walked toward the door. Ashley! She turned. The consulting fees you overcharged. $400,000. You pay that back and I'll consider dropping the countersuit. We don't have $400,000. Then sell something. Your fancy car, Ashley's jewelry, that house in the suburbs that you can barely afford. I don't care. But that money belongs to this company. She stared at me for a long moment. You really are a bastard. I'm a businessman protecting his assets. Now get out. After she left, I called Ann Foster. Draft a countersuit. Financial damages, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. Throw everything at them. Jake, are you sure? I'm sure. If Derek wants a fight, he's got one. The countersuit hit Derek and Ashley 2 days later. According to Diane, Derek was shocked. He'd apparently convinced himself I wouldn't actually go through with it. Ashley was less shocked. She immediately escalated, leaking stories to business media about how I was a vindictive father destroying my son's future. Some outlets ate it up. Others were more skeptical. But the narrative was out there. Family feud escalates. Father and son headed for court. The publicity affected the retail contract. Their procurement director called Raymond, concerned about ongoing instability. Raymond talked him down, but I knew we were on thin ice. I needed to end this, but I didn't know how. Not without either giving Derek what he wanted or destroying him completely. There had to be a middle ground, something that protected the company while not completely obliterating what was left of my relationship with my son. I called Diane. I need you to set up a meeting. Me, Derek, Ashley, neutral location, no lawyers. Are you serious? Do I sound serious? Jake, what are you planning? I'm planning to end this, one way or another. The meeting was set for the following Tuesday at a coffee shop halfway between my house and Derek's apartment. Neutral ground. I arrived first. Got coffee, found a table in the back where we'd have some privacy. Derek and Ashley showed up 15 minutes late. Derek looked terrible. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes. Ashley looked composed as always, but there was a tension in her shoulders. They sat down across from me. Nobody spoke for a long moment. "You wanted to talk," Derek finally said. "So talk." I looked at my son, really looked at him. Behind the anger and hurt, I could see the kid who used to follow me around the warehouse, the teenager who'd been so proud to make his first delivery, the young man who'd wanted nothing more than to make his father proud. When had that changed? I knew when. When he'd met Ashley. When he'd started listening to her instead of to me. When he'd started seeing the company as a prize to be won rather than a responsibility to be earned. "I'm willing to drop the countersuit," I said. Ashley's eyebrows rose. "In exchange for what?" Derek drops his suit. Ashley pays back half of the overcharged consulting fees, $200,000, and you both agree to never work for or with Kellerman Logistics again. "That's not fair," Derek said. "It's my legacy." "Legacy is earned, not inherited. You tried to steal it. This is the consequence." "Dad, I'm not done. You sign a non-compete agreement. You don't work for any of our competitors for 5 years. You don't poach our clients. You don't disparage the company. Clean break." Derek looked like I'd slapped him. "You're cutting me off completely. I'm protecting what I built, what you tried to destroy. I was trying to help. You were trying to take over. There's a difference." Ashley leaned forward. "What if we can't pay $200,000? Then you keep getting sued, your choice." She and Derek exchanged a look, some kind of silent communication. "We need time to think about it," Ashley said. "You've got 24 hours. After that, the offer's off the table and we go to court." I stood up and left without another word.